Welcome back to Digital PR Explained. I'm your host, Britt Klunz. Today, I have Rand Fishkin with me. Rand needs no introduction, especially if you come from the SEO world. So, Rand just published an article last week on the SparkToro blog. Transparently, this might this might come out 2 weeks from now. I'll try to get this episode out sooner rather than later, so it's still very, very fresh. But everybody, I'll link to it in the show notes so you can go listen to it. In that article, Rand's argument is that basically making great content is dead. And that's the advice that's driven content marketing for 25 years. Rand, you can give this more justice than I'm about to give it, especially maybe if I interpreted things wrong. But for people who haven't read the article yet, what is the short version and why should a PR professional care?
Yeah, I think PRs are actually going to be sort of excited about this because it's really good for your profession, but not so great if your idea of content marketing historically was, let me publish big guides and long form content and great blog posts and in-depth research on my website and then rely on Google and social media and AI tools and the rest of the web to send me traffic, which will then learn about my brand from the content that I create on my site and hopefully sign up for my newsletter and hopefully become a customer. That model, it's not dead, but it is no longer benefiting from a rising tide. It is negatively being affected by a falling tide.
Okay. So in this article, and you alongside Amanda Natividad, for I think since 2022, kind of giving a little bit more context into how the article came to be, and tying in the term that you both coined called Zclear. Wow, Zclero.
Zclero.
Zero click marketing. For PR pros who haven't heard what that's all about, how does it connect to what you're describing?
Yeah, so the zero click web is the problem, and zero click marketing is the solution. And interestingly, PR is a huge part of that solution in two interesting ways. So the zero click web, first, let me describe that. Basically, if we go back in time 5 years or really 10 years, Britt, you remember like Google used to send tons of traffic to the open web, more every single year, growing by double-digit percentages. Social media networks would send traffic to your website, and humans' expectations was, I learn about something on platforms, in my feed, on search engines, and then I go to another place, to someone's website, to learn more about that thing, right? To like do my research or get familiar with the brand or, learn about whatever, opening hours and read case studies and reviews and, do all the investigation that might lead to a sale. All that stuff that was basically the middle and the bottom of the funnel, the marketing funnel, happened on the website. Fast forward to 2025, 26, certainly the next 5 years, that model is broken. It is gone. Search engines and AI tools are answering more than 2/3 of all queries without a click. And those third of queries that are still sending traffic, they're not for what you think they are. They're not people asking the questions at the top and middle of the funnel. They're people just navigating to your website. The number one search term on Google is YouTube. Of the top 50 searches, more than 40 are just brand names. They're just places people are trying to go in Google. When we looked at the data, I think it was 46% of all searches are navigational in nature, meaning someone already knows where they want to go. So it's just, people think of Google as like this place to do research, but really that's not the case. AI tools, even more so. 99% of all traffic that starts on an AI tool stays on an AI tool, right? So, the Google 2/3 thing is looking really good if you're into AI. And social networks, of course, have all built algorithms or structures to prevent or discourage linking out and to make content that does link out, posts on Threads or Reddit or LinkedIn or Twitter or Facebook. Like they all have algorithms that downrank the ability of those posts to get impressions and engagement. So here we are living in this zero-click web. The obvious and only solution, in my opinion, Britt, is you got to do marketing in the places your audience pays attention. in the platforms that don't send you traffic. Like long before someone Googles, digital PR explained or, best PR experts on the web, you have to be present in all those conversations, right? Like people have to be
Mhm.
talking about you on social media. You should have Reddit threads where people are like, oh yeah, you got to go check out Brit or check out her podcast. You got to have the answers that Google is giving right in the AI overview or in AI mode or in ChatGPT's responses or Claude's responses. They should recommend you, right? All those things are zero click marketing. And it's just a
Mhm.
different way to think about how we do marketing. Rather than driving traffic, we're creating influence.
Mhm. Mhm. It's really interesting from my perspective because these strategies have always been in our back pocket as a PR.
Right.
Getting like getting these our clients in trade publications. We spoke for We Are in Media ages ago about the
Mhm.
value of trade publications over the Wall Street Journal, the domino effect that sometimes has on when it comes to getting your client out there. I mean, for one thing, journalists who write for the Wall Street Journal sometimes are getting their news and the most up to date information on that industry or in that industry from a newsletter
Right.
written by somebody who's just so involved in that industry. They know exactly what's trending before it even starts trending.
I mean,
Uh,
I think you are absolutely right in that PR was way ahead of this curve, right? And I think one of the frustrating things is when we transition to the digital marketing era, right? End of the 90s into the early 2000s, PR and digital PR sort of got messily misallocated into this bucket of either link building, right, for SEO, which was never a great primary use case for PR, or it was thought of as this like archaic old school thing that only reached whatever the older archaic audiences that still paid attention to a trade publication or actually read the Wall Street Journal or whatever it was. And in the new era of Google and AI tools and social media sourcing kind of everything that creates their answers and responses, it comes from PR, right? It
mhm,
comes from whatever, podcasts and YouTube channels and posts from influential people in the industry on a LinkedIn or a Reddit or a Threads or a, Facebook or a TikTok, and those, or on their newsletters, or on their niche websites and their niche forums and communities. The open web is not entirely dead. That's not what I'm saying. I don't want anyone to like listen to this and go, oh, Rand Fishkin said, nobody visits websites anymore.
mhm,
That's not entirely true. It's what I said earlier. It's like if you for a quarter century have been riding the rising tide of Google sending traffic and social networks sending traffic and AI tools having opportunity, that is sinking. It is falling. You're not just like riding a plateau anymore. You're literally fighting against the current. And
mhm.
so what I'm urging you to do is zero click marketing in PR. My God, like that's the core of it. How do you influence an AI answer if not through PR?
Right. So, can we going back to the article, I think I didn't do it justice in introducing it because I didn't even read the title of it. Um, and I want to talk about what you say is like, I guess, the new direction, and that is inimitable product is the new make great content.
Yes. Yes.
And this is a question for you. If a client's product is actually and truly inimitable, which means it's differentiated, it's unique, it's something that AI cannot replace. Do you think that that makes a PR jobs easier or harder? I have
Hmm.
my own
Yeah.
opinions here. Not that it's a trick question.
No, no. So I think at the core of this question is this frustrating truth, which has been true for marketers for forever, right? Which is that so many times marketers are hired to solve what is actually a product problem, right? Like
Mhm.
if
Yeah.
your product is in a market with competition and normal levels of demand, and your product is not differentiated, and you don't have a unique value that your product provides, and you're not clear, making that positioning clear against the rest of the market, you know what? Like the marketing can only do so much. Like it
Mm-hmm.
again, it's fighting against this the market forces are against you. And I think it's really frustrating to do that. If, however, if you have an inimitable product, meaning it is impossible for AI to replicate the value of that. It is very difficult for competitors to imitate the value of your product, which could be primarily because of brand, right? Brand in history is the compound interest of the entrepreneurial world, the product world. And so I don't want to say like, you might look. This is not to you know rain on anyone's particular parade, right? But Nike is a very imitable product. Anyone can make a sneaker. Like the tech seems cool, but it's not that special, right? There are lots of sneakers out there. What's the true inimitable value of Nike? It's the brand,
Mm-hmm.
right? So,
That's a good point.
but you could have lots of ways to provide inimitable value. You could have software that can do things that no other software, or even someone's vibe coded AI thing, or something that a team of 20 great engineers work on for 2 years. You could have software that does that thing. Why does it do that thing so well? Oh, because a bunch of people have connected their data to it. And so now you have this unique value that like no one else can provide unless they had all that history and information. Maybe it's in your interface and branding. Maybe it's in your visuals. But in each of these cases, right? In each of these cases where you're providing an imitable value, whether it's physical product or services or digital product, it makes, to your question, it makes PR harder in one way, which is that your targeting and your positioning and the way you describe the product has to be on point every time. But it makes it easier in a much bigger way, which is that the results of that PR are so much better. Because if you tell the right story in the right place to the right audience with the right message, marketing just sings, right? It works. And if one of those is messed up or not right, it's really hard. So a lot of times, I see even when you and I work on projects sometimes, Britt, together, right? Because we do stuff for like a couple of companies together sometimes. And I see that we struggle when the positioning is not incredibly clear and the message is not super dialed in, and the value that it's supposed to be providing and for whom it's supposed to be providing is too
Mm-hmm.
broad. It's really hard. It's really hard to do PR. But if you say this exact audience with these specific, psychographics, demographics, behaviors,
Mm-hmm.
and this message, yeah, that's when PR gets so much better, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you're really highlighting what story that particular audience is going to care about, and you're making it way less broad.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're right. It just sings. It sings. I love that phrase. But I mean, also like what keeps coming to my mind as well, and I don't want to jump to technically the next segment too fast because I have a question for you about SparkToro,
Mm,
and I guess that's the perfect example of what you're talking about as well. That's a software company that you founded that is unique. It provides market research and audience research. Um, I guess for the modern web or the modern marketer. Um, and you built SparkToro on this kind of PR, on this kind of positioning.
yes.
But also, all of this has so much value in the world of AI and LLMs that we're now moving towards. And who knows, this might all change a year from now. But like right now, the uh, whole what you want to do to better position your clients or your brand or your product or whatever it might be for AIs and LLMs to, reference that as an answer
Yeah.
or have a better chance of doing that at least is to have consistent messaging.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Yes. Oh my
that
gosh.
just goes for me, that's what I focus on. Like, I'm not super focused on worrying about what outlets these AIs and or these LLMs are getting their answers from. I'm kind of sticking to the core principle of PR and messaging and branding, which is what is our what do we want to be known for?
Yes.
What is our unique value proposition? And how can we just continue getting that out there and
And
in
for
front of the
who?
right audiences? Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, for
and
who?
for who?
Exactly, right audience. Yeah, yeah, so, let's see, so I think about this a lot with the folks who make an investment in PR before they have dialed in the answers to those 3 questions, and made
Mhm,
them really specific. And I think a lot of the frustration comes from the fact that many executives or founders or, brands of any kind, like Brit, they really wanna serve all audiences. Like they think, oh, we're for everyone. We're for anyone. That is so hard. That is so hard to be for anyone and everyone, right? Like there's a few companies that are for anyone and everyone. Amazon, Costco, OpenAI or Microsoft, right? But you go like one layer down in the economy, in the macro economy, and everybody has to be for somebody.
mhm,
And this is the fundamental challenge, right? If you start describing your product in many different ways, because you're just bored of saying the same thing over and over, you're bored of publishing the same stuff, bored of doing that same interview over and over, bored of describing SparkToro, oh, we're an audience research company that helps in-house marketers and agencies and consultants to, learn where their audiences hang out. Like, I am tired of saying it. I am like, I'm fundamentally like, I want to be more creative. I want to describe my company in a bunch of different ways. This happens to consultants and agencies too, where they're like, oh, let's branch out. Let's try. I want some more interesting clients. I want to do more with a different sector of the economy. But man, if you focus is a superpower. It's a superpower in terms of like building your flywheel and being able to get better and better at this one craft. And it's easier to get known for doing that one thing and get referred by people in that field to other people in that field. And the same thing is true with AI, right? Like, and I'm not just talking about like ChatGPT and Claude and Gemini responses. I'm also talking about Google's AI overviews and AI mode, which is the massively most dominant form of AI influencing people's opinions. If you consistently use the same message for the same audience over and over again in all sorts of publications on the social web, in newsletters, in, trade publications and outlets of every kind. You know what's crazy weird? You can see that a bunch of examples of this. People don't even need to read it. They don't need to engage with it. If you're in those places with those words and phrases connected to your brand, AI will return you in the responses. Like, Britt, did you
mm,
see this? There's like a viral piece. I want to say it was like an experiment that some SEO people had run, SEO AI people, last year, where they created just a bunch of YouTube videos and Reddit threads with 0 views and no upvotes. Not a single person had ever seen them, and boom, they were able to change the results in Claude, ChatGPT, and Google AI overviews.
hmm,
Because the platforms aren't yet savvy enough to be like, hey, did anyone care about this YouTube video?
mhm,
Doesn't matter. And this is one of the reasons why Digital PR Explained, like your podcast, quite popular, seen by a lot of people. But I occasionally will do podcasts with people who have, very little audience, like, they're brand new, whatever. And it's like, hey, it's a great chance to get out the message. Even if it's only for a few people, it's also for AI.
that's true. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I always encourage my clients to consider the smaller podcast for many reasons. You never know where they might go, and where that host might even end up, to be
Yeah,
honest.
this is another good point. Have you seen this like phenomenon of, I don't know exactly what to call it. Like maybe you have a better name for this, but it's like the TikTokification of social algorithms, where I don't know how much time you spend in your feeds, but like I spend too much time in my feeds. And I noticed that over the past few years, they have all Reddit, LinkedIn, Threads. I don't spend much time on Facebook, but Facebook too, Instagram for sure. They've all stopped showing stuff you follow. Like if you expressly say, hey, I want to subscribe to this subreddit. It
Mhm,
used to be that Reddit would show a bunch of content from that Reddit. Not anymore. Like what happens now is they see, for example, I started engaging with a subreddit called Ask Brits or UK stuff because I was like
mhm,
researching stuff about moving to London. Well, now my feed is filled with like all these subreddits about UK, people, and it's weird. Like I have to actively stop engaging with them to get Reddit to back off of showing me that stuff.
Mhm.
The reason I bring this up, the reason I bring up this TikTokification is because 10 years ago, the most valuable thing that you could do to get like a social media marketing presence and do PR in social media was find a creator or an influencer who had a big audience, like tons of followers, and get on their channel, right? Like get on their thread. And now tiny little people, like basically nobody's on social media can have a thing go super viral with millions of views because of this TikTokification of the algorithm.
Mhm.
It's like it optimizes for the engagement level. So if here's someone with one follower and like, none of their threads have ever done well, they post something and the first five people that threads or Reddit or YouTube or LinkedIn or whatever show it to
Mhm.
engage with it. Oh, wait, the algorithm's going to quick
Yeah.
recognize that and show it to more people and more people and more people and see if that engagement rate stays high. And if it does, the thing goes viral. So it
Hmm.
matters so much less than it did 10 years ago if you have lots of followers, if you're big or small on social.
Interesting. I like that. I mean, I never thought about that.
I
Um,
should write another piece about this.
you really should. Yeah, you
Yeah,
really
all right.
should.
Is there
It would
yeah,
help.
I wonder if there's a name for it. All right. All of you listening to Digital PR Explained, will you please, like, send a thread to me or send a, uh, a
We'll
LinkedIn
we'll
or whatever.
workshop
Like,
this. We'll
yeah,
workshop this.
yeah,
Yeah.
put it in the comments.
Yes.
That's one of the
Um,
other, like, Instagram engagement, things where people are like, "Let me know in the comments."
yeah, yeah. If I were better at YouTube, that would be definitely something I would be doing for this episode. It's so smart. Gosh, where do we go from here? I feel like we've actually just kind of taken this conversation in a whole different direction than
Oh, man.
I wanted to from the beginning. But it's all
You get us
important.
back on track, Britt, I trust you.
Oh gosh. Okay. So, I guess where should I go from here? Well, I guess for the purpose of your argument and just bringing it back to the article, do you think that PRs then, like, what would be if what's the best way for a PR to face that roadblock if the whatever it is that they're representing is having a problem in which they cannot define their
Mm,
unique inimitabiliness? I don't know what the
yeah.
right word is for there. I can hardly say inimitable. It took me a few practices to say it out loud.
I
Um
I will say it was one of the things when I wrote the article, I really looked for synonyms. I was like, "Come on, there must be a way to say unimitatable," but nope, that's the only one.
But, like, do you know what I mean? Branding can only go so far. So, what
Yeah.
is your number one tip for PRs to attack that problem, in a
Yeah,
zero
yeah.
click marketing world specifically?
Okay, uh, the the best idea I got for you, at least in the short term, is if your client or team or boss, execs, whatever, if they cannot decide on we are X for Y, like we're the inimitable product that no one can replicate for this particular audience. If they have too many audiences or they're trying to, convey the features of their product rather than the product value proposition, or the product value proposition is just way too broad, which happens so much. My suggestion is be like, okay, great, no problem. We will do this, but we're going to do it audience by audience or value prop
Mm,
by
okay.
value prop. And so you basically explain to them, right? Hey, like we're not going to be able to get the value from PR that we want if we just go super broad. But I hear you. We need to send all these broad messages. We've got to be for all these different audiences. We need to convey all these many value propositions. We're just going to split them up. This quarter, we're doing a focus on, this value prop for this audience, and
Hmm.
we're going to use that to target these publications that we know this audience pays attention to because we ran a SparkToro report, right? And like, great, like do that, do it one by one if you have to, as opposed to trying to mash it all together and just be super generic.
I love that answer. Yep, that makes sense. I talk
I
about
think
them all the time.
you do this
So,
naturally. Like I've watched you, you know, kind of
yeah, I mean,
create
I
it.
do that with the client that you support,
Yeah.
as a creator or an influencer. I don't know if you like being dubbed that,
Yeah, why
but,
not?
yes. So thinking about what is the story here for X audiences, who are the journalists that write about this. Also, like what a lot of that comes from just understanding what's happening in their worlds and thinking about how I can tie in the data that we're working with, if it makes sense. I'm not trying to put a square peg in a circle hole or whatever
Yeah,
that phrase
yeah.
is. But like a lot of it is understanding. And on this podcast, I talk to journalists or I try to interview as many journalists as possible. They're really hard to get to come on sometimes. They're the people usually interviewing. They don't really like to talk a lot. And
Yeah,
usually when it happens, it becomes a really fun therapy session because they all have the same complaint. And that is, I just want the PR who's sending me the pitch to read what I'm publishing and understand what I want to write about and what
mm,
the people who read my work really care about. And that's why I think I approach the work that we do together and all of the work that I do for my clients with that lens because journalists are not going to respond to a generic press release that you send to their inbox that you could have sent to a million other or hundreds of other journalists
yeah.
about the product in general and like what it does. You have to have a story, and it all comes back to that. So,
It's a great point around like it's not just your PR is a relationship of two entities, right? It's the entity who's doing the publishing as well as your entity that's trying to pitch, promote, talk about, amplify something.
mhm.
And that yeah, I think that gets forgotten in a lot of marketing. You know what, regardless of channel, right? It's like this, who am I creating this thing for and why are they going to care about it? And yeah, it's funny. Amanda and I actually wrote a whole chapter in the book in Zero Click Marketing, the book that's coming out in the fall. We wrote this whole chapter about how people, marketers especially, are tasked with reaching audiences of customers rather than audiences of influencers. And it's actually a big problem. Like it is fundamentally so hard to say, hey, we want to convey this value and this message to people who are going to buy our product. But there's an intermediary level, right? There's like whatever, the creator on YouTube, the influencer on Instagram, the journalist, who writes for a big media publication, the person who owns the newsletter, that person is also an audience that you have to care about. And if you don't create for them, they will never amplify to the group you want to reach.
Mhm.
And so
Yep.
we tried to like break down this problem and like visualize it and
Oh,
make some
cool.
graphics for. Do Cyrus Shepard, his wife
Mhm.
Dawn, who did my book cover for Lost and Founder. She is doing all the graphics for
Oh,
for
very
zero click
fun.
marketing too, which is so fun. I love working with people I like. And so this like thorny, your audience is actually sources of influence.
Mhm.
I think that's the thing people struggle with the most. Most, I would chalk up a lot of my success in marketing to the fact that so much of my work and thinking and publications and research and articles and whatever, all that stuff is designed not necessarily to reach the audience who's going to buy SparkToro or buy Alert Mouse or eventually, someday buy Snack Bar. It is designed for sources of influence, right? Folks like yourself who are like, I don't mean this pejoratively, but like the gatekeepers of the audiences that you want to reach. And if
Mhm.
you don't serve those gatekeepers, you're gonna have a bad time.
Well, you'll never get to the customers.
You don't have a chance, right? And like,
Yeah.
yeah, and so many PR, you know, pitches that I see, even those I know that the PR people behind them are like, oh my God, this is terrible. Really? I have to send this? This is what you want me to pitch? Okay, I'll do it, but it's not gonna work, right? Like I know PRs are smarter than this, but I think a lot of times the execs and the people in charge are like, hey, you push the message I tell you to push.
Right. Yeah. It's tough. It's really tough.
Yeah, so no wonder journalists are upset about this.
Yeah, no wonder. So you and Amanda have been working on this book on zero click marketing for quite some time now. Can you just tell us more about like what you want folks like marketers to get out of this and how you think it might most pivot our thinking and,
Yeah.
and what you're keeping in mind since things are just, they change so quickly.
Yeah, yeah, uh, yeah, great question about that. That
That was a lot of questions in one.
I
You're
think
being too
that's
nice.
yeah, that's okay, I'm gonna answer the second part in a second, but the first part,
Okay.
right, like, what do we want marketers to take away? 2 things that I really think we wanna focus on. One is most marketers understand that this universe of getting traffic and the zero-click web is fundamentally changing, but they don't have the tools and resources, or they don't have the arguments and data and, like, powerful way of saying it to convince their boss, their team, their client, the people they work with
Mm, hmm.
to invest in a different way. And so we're trying to give them the ammunition to make that case in a powerful, easy to understand way with lots of examples and data and case studies, and also a lot of humor and joy, right? Like I want you to, we wanted people as they read this book, which has some like semi-apocalyptic data in it about what's going on with the web,
Hmm.
to enjoy themselves, right? Like as you read it, I think a book has to be joyful. You're never going to make it through 10 pages if it doesn't like, oh, this is fun to read, right? So
Hmm.
that's kind of the key value prop at the start of the book. And then for people who are bought in, we wanted to give them tactics and strategies to approach this and ways to measure and report on it. Because measurement and reporting on a web where traffic is gone is so difficult, so difficult. So we're trying to provide all that. And to your second question, that problem, especially with AI, right, and like where Google's going and where the AI tools are going, it's so difficult to be like, hey, here's this study from January 2026 that says that Reddit is the most influential source for ChatGPT citations. Oh no, there's another study from March saying Reddit fell to 5th place in ChatGPT citation influence. Oh my God, Reddit's back up to number 3 in May. What do you do? Like, how do you convey that? And do the citations even matter? And is that post hoc
Yeah.
rationalization by the? So what we tried to do, Britt, is like the only realistic thing that we could do, which is to say, whatever time frame you're reading this book in, there will be people producing data about what's working right now,
Hmm.
and in a few months it will change again. And so your job is essentially to have the structure of how to understand what's influencing these sources. There's always going to be, right, for as long as AI exists in its current iteration, there's always going to be, whatever you want to call that, the training data and then the retrieval augmented generation that comes from, the AI's performing searches. These two things are the two things that influence what it shows you. You be present in those places, you're going to have success. Will those places change? Absolutely. Are they different by different platforms? Sure. The same thing for social media. Like we included a few, hey, here's some helpful tips and tricks for like getting hooks on Instagram, and like, the looped video thing works really, really well. So if the end of the video,
Mm.
a lot like the start of the video on Insta,
Oh,
then
interesting.
people like stay around
Well,
longer.
yeah, you're tricking them.
Yes, you're sort Instagram is surely going to cut that off at some point. Like, surely those
Yeah.
videos will fall out of Discover and they won't be in so many people's feeds. Is it working right now? Yes.
Hmm.
Does that mean, what's the takeaway from that? Is the takeaway from that, oh, I should just spam that? No. The takeaway from that is if I can create videos that more people watch more times,
Hmm.
whatever the technique I'm using to do that, I will increase my engagement and Instagram will show my videos to more people.
Yeah.
So we try and like, God, there's a word for that, like disassociate the strategy from the tactic
Okay.
and give people the strategy, not just the individual thing that's going to work.
Ah, very cool. I'm excited to read more about that in particular. Do you have any LinkedIn tips in there too?
Yeah,
I
Amanda's
know
got
you
a
and Amanda crush
yeah,
it on LinkedIn,
she's
so.
she's so good at LinkedIn. Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's just wild.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she
so
is really good.
let's see. So quick tip for LinkedIn, your LinkedIn post is going to do much better if it inspires very quick comment responses rather than lots of likes.
Mm, okay.
So, so for example, if you have something that is moderately controversial, right,
Mhm,
a
mhm.
spicy opinion, or if you are presenting something in a way that takes a direct shot at a common narrative.
Hmm.
Those types of hooks work really well on LinkedIn because someone will, in the
Chime in.
comments, very, very quickly, like one of the first people
Yeah.
that LinkedIn shows it to will almost certainly either A, disagree, which is okay, or
Yeah.
B, say like, oh, this is true, but I want to add more context, or C, be like, yes, thank you. I've been looking for something like this. I've been saying this to those types of comments that inspire that like a
A
business emotional
reaction.
trigger.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It,
Yeah. Yeah.
that would be the tip, right? Like if you can get the business or the professional emotional trigger on LinkedIn, that tends to work. But it's really weird. Oh, you know what else? So we have a theory we're currently testing. I think I'm hoping that before we have the final draft, we can do this. Have you seen this, Brit, on LinkedIn? Where let's imagine, I'm not saying that you are part of a group like this, but let's imagine that maybe many marketers are. So it's possible. Like you're part of a WhatsApp group or like
Hmm.
an email list or, a
Hmm.
Discord chat or whatever. And you share a post, from LinkedIn with like all your buddies, all your marketing friends. And you're like, hey, will you guys go like comment and like this? I am 99% sure that LinkedIn looks at direct traffic to a post and
Oh, okay.
discount the engagement that it gets from direct traffic versus in feed viewing,
Okay. Interesting. I mean, that makes sense. That would be the smart thing to do on LinkedIn's behalf. You're just giving
right?
them ideas, Rand.
Well, no, I think I'm pretty sure they're already
You're
doing this.
like, they're already doing it.
Yeah, they're
Okay.
already doing it. You can see,
Yeah.
I've tried this, for people who don't know. I am part of a group like this, right? Or several
Hmm.
that are like, hey, here's a group of marketers or founders or whatever, and we're like
That'll
on a
be
private list.
fascinating.
And
Yeah.
so, hey, here's my LinkedIn post. Will you guys help me amplify this? Go comment on it, go share it, go whatever. My recommendation would be if you're doing that in those private groups, say, hey, if you see my post on this in your
Ah,
LinkedIn
okay.
feed, will you go comment on it rather than go directly to this URL? Because that direct traffic, they
Yeah.
don't like it.
Ah, okay. I see. Interesting. Very interesting.
We got lots of tips
Um,
like this.
well, I can't wait to read the book in general, but now I'm even more excited. Congrats. It's available for pre-order. I will link to the website in the show notes so everybody can check it out and pre-order that book. Well, Rand, this has been so fun. There were so many other questions that I had jotted down to ask you. Was there anything that I overlooked that you think is really important to just bring up here at the last a few
Oh,
minutes
yeah.
of the
I
pod?
mean, one thing I would say, specifically to that article of inimitable product is the new make great content,
Mhm.
is that, and I brought this up at the very end of the piece, but if you are a content product, I think you're in trouble. Like no matter how inimitable your content is, no matter how wonderful the content thing, and I mean content like written content or video content or audio content, and that's your only product, like that's the thing that you
Mhm.
sell. There's no service or physical good or, community or whatever behind it. Then I think fundamentally the world is moving against those things having value. I think you're selling horseshoes in the age of automobiles. Like it's just going to be so hard. There's still farriers, right? Like we still have people who make horseshoes today in 2026, but what, maybe 1/10,000th the number that did, 100 years ago, and certainly 1/100,000th of, 150 years ago. So I just worry for those types of folks. I think that there are still reasons to maintain a blog. There's still good reasons to have an email newsletter. Absolutely. I mean, email newsletters, super valuable. There's still good reason to put great content on your website. I'm not denying that. But if that's your primary product, or if that is your primary form of marketing and your digital efforts have been driving traffic to those places and then measuring the traffic and determining whether your marketers are successful based on the traffic that they drive, you are living in the past.
All right. Well, I think we'll end it there on that uplifting prediction. No, but
And
I think
there's
it's
so much there's
important.
so
I
much
do think it's
opportunity.
so important. Yeah, there's
Yeah,
so much
there's so much opportunity.
opportunity. Um,
People didn't
and
stop buying things,
yeah,
right? Internet commerce is as high as it's ever been. And I
Yeah.
think we'll keep growing.
Yeah. Yep.
But
Well, cool.
content on your website that you drive traffic to is not the way to get the most value from your marketing. That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much, Rand. I'm going to link to where everybody can go pre-order the book, Zero Click Marketing, super simple. And also to the article that we broke down, and go follow Rand on LinkedIn if you're not already. And thank you so much, Rand.
My pleasure, Brett. Thanks for having me.